Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and yes, I'm doing yet another tier list video. I think I got out most of the tier list that I want to do, because quite honestly I'm getting exhausted from this content placing. Today we're going to rewrite the Valorant agents. If I haven't done a tier list on this already, I'm going to do another tier list on it. And it's going to be an updated one because we're now putting in the new agent Gecko, and it does change around some of these things. I am not going to do the fancy redoing these side categories. So let's start off. Valorant has some very interesting agents. Some are good and some are bad. I'm going to try to put in more objective viewpoints on here, which objective means factual. So I think that so I'm basically taking everything at face value and giving that more weight than my opinion. How well can I run an agent, or how comfortable do I use feeling an agent? Because in Valorant, the agents, these are fine line, good or bad. Yes. Whereas opposed to if we follow something like meta or personal taste, it's going to fluctuate everywhere, and that's where most of the debates are going to come from. D tier, we're just going to change to F. There's not that many agents that we need to make it a D and F, right? So S tier going to be the best, and F I would completely avoid. So let's start us off. Yes, and we're not going to go into this order right now. We're just going to pick, let's choose Fade. Fade, I think I said this before, Fade is not better than Sova. Sova gathers info in ways we'd never see before, and so does Fade. Yes, they have their own unique way, but Sova is always going to be better, in my opinion, than Fade. She's great, great solo impact, and also even better team impact player. So if you want one with both or either or, Fade is good for you. She's really the best for comboing with players and whatnot. But I do think, I've said this before, I think some of her abilities are limited by whether you get fear trails or not, and that's by spotting enemies or seizing enemies. Like her seize is not good unless if you combo it with something or place it exactly correct. Unlike with an Astra Suck or something, that's just placed there all the time, and if you're big brain enough, you'll always get value out of that. Where with Fade, if you misplace it at all, yes, you could put that off to skill issue and whatnot, but it's still an inherent weakness because you have to throw the damn thing as opposed to like place it. So at face value, it's going to be worse. So there's a lot of comboing, but it's also really, really good. But I'm going to right now dispel the argument that Fade is better than Sova. No. She's different than Sova and does a lot of things similar to Sova in a different way, but Sova will, I think, rate Supreme as the ultimate info gatherer, even more so than Cypher in most cases. I'm going to put Fade in. So her little prowlers are just the worst Skydog unless if you get fear trails. That weights it down. The siege kind of weights down, but it has great combo potential. Her eye little thing, her haunt, I love that. It's good, and her ult's also good. So that's almost kind of even. Is it enough for A or S? I would say A tier. Yes, A tier agent, definitely no reason to avoid playing Fade. But if you're looking for strict info gathering, there's better agents to choose. Yes. So I guess let's go with our info gathering. Sova is going to be S tier. Yes, I don't think he'll ever change from there. Info in these games could not be more important. Sova, yes, you do have to learn to lineups and whatnot. sometimes to really get the best potential out of it, but even basic lineups you can get info out of. Shock darts have great potential too, and his drone is very, very useful as well. And his ult is just the ultimate stalling device, or you can just mow down a team with it if you know where people are. Yes, it's hilarious. Is it the most impactful? I would say no, but it's still really, really good. And Sova is, I think, is a staple of what Valorant really is. And as an info gatherer, if you want to use it, use Sova. Yes, you will not be disappointed. Cypher, I think, is going to be worthy of an S tier. Big brain potential happening with here. He could set up multiple sites, heights and whatnot. I'm not going to debate the Cypher Killjoy thing as much in depth as I did previously or in any other video. That's going to be for another video by itself. That's going to be way longer. It's going to be one of my rant videos. But Cypher is unique at what he does and is really good at gathering info. And if you use him well, you're going to get a lot of value. Even at basic level, he can still get a lot of value because info is info. Whether you get little or you get a lot. So Cypher has a lot of big brain play that you can utilize to really max out info. So there's really no reason not to play him unless you just don't want to play a Sentinel. But objectively, it's going up there. Killjoy, for right now, the state of that, Cypher is just better, so I'm putting Killjoy in A tier. We'll talk about, I'm not going to cover Killjoy because that's going to make this video be like 40 minutes long. But Killjoy is no longer at her full potential. I've played when Killjoy was at her full potential, and that was like episode 1 through 3. Before they nerfed her to that, and because I know that Killjoy has played that was also the dumbest thing Riot could have done, and no, right? So she unless if Riot implements that, Killjoy will never be at her full potential ever again. And the way that Cypher is, right? Great for locking down sites though. Right now, turret can be super annoying. But also her placements, you have to think about why you're setting things where. Otherwise, somebody's going to steamroll through your util. Right? Now, I guess we can go in order. Breach. Breach is going to go into B tier. Due to the simple fact of his util is awesome. Well, actually, do I put Breach up higher? There's so many factors in there. No, I think I'm going to... No, I'm going to put Breach S tier. Breach is S tier because his utility is so versatile and so effective that when used correctly, and I'm going to assume when I'm saying used correctly, used at the highest skilled. If a player who has the maximum potential they could of Valorant via agent and their FPS skill play, is that if they're at their highest potential, whether that be infinite or at their ceiling, plays the agent at face value and at infinite, integrated their own stuff, how does that impact the agent? That's what I'm saying Breach is. At the maximum impact, Breach can shut down teams. His stun's great. His ult is basically free sight, especially combined with Fade's info. His aftershock's good for clearing out corners, and his blinds are good if placed well. Yes, but I'm assuming this from top tier. Even lower tier, just learn how to flash with Breach is basically what I'm saying. Uh, but Breach at face value is incredible. Yeah. Good for what I call stop rush defense is what I use it a lot for. And with this concuss and aftershock combo, that's usually a good way to do stop rush, and that is something a lot of the other agents can't do. And he is very underrated on defense, and on attack he is probably practically perfectly rated, if not even underrated on there. Great on both sides if you know how to use them well. Yes, just all around a really, really good agent. You do have to have some good team play behind Breach, unless if you're solo queuing and you're one of those top players that can use them to max potential, then that's going to be that. But if you're not one of those and you don't have the team play, you're not going to get value out of Breach. But still, that doesn't take away from at face value Breach is still going to be S tier. Brimstone is also going to be S tier for initiation. Actually, I think he's more A tier now. Not that I'm thinking about. Actually, no. I'm going to move him back. 3 smokes, super easy to use. Molly, versatile. Ult, good for flushing out. Ult kind of weighs it down a little bit, but just at face value. Stim beacon, underrated, can be useful in a lot of ways. Brim is just an all-around easy controller to play and is really, really good. So speaking of controllers, let's rank the controllers. Viper is S tier for obvious reasons. Harbor is also S tier. And this is where I've been playing Harbor non-stop the last 2 acts. Yes, I've gained to about 32 hours on him now. I'm trying to get him way up there. Harbor is so fun to use, and he's so good. He's discount Viper, but also upgraded Viper at the same time. The curved wall potential is really good. They're both unique in what they do, but they're both so good. There's reasons to play each character, and there's no reason not to avoid playing either one. Harbor, there's no reason you not to play him. His kit, all of his kit is actually pretty good. Even his ult, I've taken a step back and said his ult's actually not bad. So Harbor, I don't know why people crapped out Harbor, but a lot of people are starting to agree with me. He's actually really, really good. That being said, Astra at full big brain potential is also S tier. Omen is going to be B tier. For predictability, he can be big brain, but it's slow, and if you don't use him correctly, he's not going to be good. And just as far as smoking goes, just why not have 3 smokes or the versatility of any of the other controllers? He's just fall. Yes. No, I know in meta he's like up in here, but he's really not. B tier, but there's no reason to avoid. Jet, obviously. I have to kind of speedrun through this. I am on the time crunch. I'm sorry now. I wish I could explain my picks a little bit more, but on that. Phoenix, I respect it a lot more. B tier, there's better options, but for a jack of all trades, pretty good. Raze, I ranked her up here. B tier, if I'm looking at it at face value, just because smokes, there's going to get more value out of. Actually, no, I'm going to put her A tier. Out of that. For the duelists, probably S tier, but Jet does a lot more things Raze can actually. No, given that, I'm going to put Raze back up there. Sage has fallen to B or even C tier now. I think she'll just stay in B. Her res is still good. Wall is still pretty good. Slow orbs are absolute trash. That's going to be another video and a controversial one at that for another time. And her heal got nerfed for no apparent reason. So because of that, I think the bad is equally as bad or good as the good. And sort of balance of that, it's just B tier. Reyna, is just enticing for aim people, and I not dealing with that in Valorant. Yes, this is what there was that's still not changing. F tier. Yes, I don't care how dominant Reyna is in there. It's because, not because of big brain or because you chew faster. It's because you can fucking aim. Yes, and I don't care if you can fucking aim in Valorant. I'd rather you use util correctly. Don't get me wrong, aim is important. You have to win those gunfights, but if you have an agent, when you have all these agents that have abilities, and then you're gonna, why have a agent that entices on you not using abilities? And that just doesn't make sense. Yes, F tier. Get that out of here. Chamber, right now. Dude, Chamber's a laughing stock. F tier. I'm not going over this. I've covered Chamber so many times. I think even he was F tier when he came out. Again, for the exact same reasons. He's just a way to entice aim god. His sentinel role is not... Dude, just change the symbol to like a hybrid or just another role altogether. Yes, he was not a sentinel. He was not good for the flank watching. His teleportations was the best ability. His headhunter and ult are just upgraded guns. At that point, just give us those upgraded guns at that point, or just upgrade the op or the sheriff to do that. Don't give us a whole fucking agent to be able to do that. That's dumb. He was a great save character, though, until they nerfed him, but still, what the actual fuck is Chamber right now? Yes, another one that is insult, and then Riot just nerfed him to the ground. At this point, you might... Riot, instead of nerfing a character like this hard, just delete them. Yes, from the game. There was no place for Chamber to be in the game anyway. At all. Yes, if you debate that in the comments down below, do expect an objective and a little bit of objective reasoning back from that. I will respond back to those type of comments. I will try to be nice about it, but I will reiterate that Chamber is not good. Am I basically calling those arguments invalid? Yes, and I think I have enough reasoning to say that saying that Chamber is good is invalid. I have enough evidence that unless if somebody comes up with something that I step back and say, whoa, that's actually, I didn't think about that. That's actually a valid point. Saying that Chamber is anything above F tier, you might be able to argue C tier. I could respect that, but if you put Chamber anywhere in any of these three, I'm about to crap on it. Yes, I'm not saying that to attack my viewers, but when I'm making a more objective tier list, yes, don't put an opinionated one or put in a objective argument back that is just not valid. Yes, it can be valid once something becomes valid when you have the evidence behind it and that the other side does acknowledge that. Yes, if neither side acknowledges, basically both statements are technically invalid. There's not one right or wrong. But when there's not an objective one, that other one is valid as long as the facts are still true. For my side, my facts are still true. Yours still could be true, but when put up against another fact, it's either going to be either or none of them. Yes, they will not both be true. So, Chamber and Reyna, absolute garbage. Yes. Sky is going to go in for her potential. It's going to go into S tier. Yoru has big brain potential, but is going to go into A tier. So many things outplay. He's basically Omen without the smokes, which is interesting to see. But definitely don't avoid. But I just think utility-wise, everybody in S tier serves a little bit more purpose than Yoru does. KO, I'm going to respect him a bit more. I will put him in S tier. I took a step back and thought, okay, maybe the disabling of abilities is probably pretty powerful. But also, I was also thinking about that argument where if you do that, you're basically putting everybody on the same level as Reyna and Chamber. But then I also thought of another argument saying, basically, if you're able to temporarily disable abilities, maybe then that you're relying on gunplay, and then that will give the skill of the player. That it's a weird one. In my head, that's a big back and forth. I prefer that out of an agent that makes me think like that compared to these two agents in there where it's just there's no place for it. There is a place for KO. Disabling abilities is better than having abilities that are useless because you could run the characters without abilities completely, which with both of these agents, Reyna and Chamber, you could definitely run without their abilities. Yeah. So take that. KO with the disabling of that, that's actually a strategic advantage. I see that. It's S tier. Yes, his flashes, as long as you can use them well, are actually pretty damn good. And his molly's acceptable. Yes, I think if it was molly and just the fact that they're not as great as Sky's flashes, it would be A tier. But given everything, his ult, I actually don't think is as great as what it's put off to be, but I can understand it. I will give KO the respect it deserves and put it in there. Neon is C tier. Sheesh. Neon is C tier. I just think that there's better options out there, but what she does can be helpful in some situations. Obviously, if you're not good with her, it's not going to be. That ult, though, needs to disappear or be nerfed. I could see the reasoning behind that, but I'm tired of getting fucking sniped from across the map. And I mean across the map with this ult being fully accurate. And I don't care. Yeah, the argument is going to be just get better at movement. Yes, I'm trying to fucking dodge the thing. And I think that I've used the best movement I can, yet I'm still getting blasted from there. Yes, it doesn't take much for this. And you can also argue that it's been nerfed because the nerf didn't affect it at all. It's basically like the Stinger and Spectre nerfs that didn't change the damn things worth anything. Yes. So, yeah, C tier on that. If her ult alone, like, basically prevents it from being up higher, if there was a different ability, maybe she could be even higher, but the util that she has is also unique in that it cancels out the ult. Gecko, I'm going to talk about Gecko a little bit. This one's going to be a tough one. And some of you may say, oh, we don't have enough info to assess this. I think that we do. I'm actually still a little bit confused on how it works, but I know that his ability can blind, like can scout out and blind. And I think detained. It's like a freaking Killjoy ult. Yeah, I believe that it can. It's basically like a Killjoy ult when it's detained. So it can detain you, which combined with the Killjoy ult is immensely powerful. I've been blasted. The blinding aspect that comes from, I think, his wingman is annoying at times, but is basically, if you get blinded by that, once I get sprayed with that, I'm just ducking behind cover. You gotta learn to swing off of that. I think that one's kind of a wishy-washy. The main ability that I fucking saw with Gecko is the wingman one where it can plan to defuse the spike. That opens up a bunch of opportunities. That's both strong and it also can be weak. It can be weak in the fact that it's predictable, and I believe it can be destroyed. But it's also good that it's big brain, that thing. I'd say I have enough info, but I also don't have enough. I would have to play with this agent a little bit too. I see his strengths right now is I thinking that he's kind of weak because I'm just dodging all of his abilities right now, except for when I forget that his abilities can like fucking detain and stuff. I forget that all the time, and then with that, but I like the potential. I think it was a very interesting addition to Valorant. I don't really have any problems with his abilities unless if I throw out that there's just things that can do things better. I do think that the first one I will say, the blind part of Gecko's kit, as far as the duration is I think I like the duration, but as far as the effectiveness, I'd prefer a standard blind. I think would just be more effective than what that is. The other abilities I can't really assess, but for right now, I'm going to put Gecko in a solid B tier. Great potential. I'll have to play around with it because it might change. But from what I have, and I have some information that I can place him at least somewhere. Yes. To assess a placement. As opposed to if I had no information or not sure what any of his abilities do, I couldn't even rank him on here. But I have a bit of knowledge. So I'm going to place him B tier. And no, I'm not rearranging these tiers, but this is going to be my agent ranking list. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys.